Welcome to the Purpose Podcast. My name is Rachel. I'm here with my husband, Zach, our great friend, the Drubas, and we are so excited to talk about your purpose. God designed you to be in a relationship with Him and to help others do the same. And we're going to talk all about it today. So we have our great friends, the Drubas, who are seeing some crazy things happen in their neighborhood, and we want you to hear their story.
We're just throwing great friends out there when I'm still a little bitter about, the vandalization of our house when they were in our group. We won't give any more context than that, but you know what else I'm not just happy about?
We fixed it.
We did fix it, thanks to you. But just something else I want to throw out there. We're not even talking anymore pre-podcast about who's doing the intro now. You just assume that you get to do it.
That's because I'm better at it.
We don't know
and
that.
Everyone, you can put in the comments right now, actually, hey, I prefer when Rachel does the introduction.
Unless that's
Justin listens to them all.
I've heard every podcast episode, and I would have to say that she is.
Hey, Justin.
He is the number one fan.
Cut that out. If you just tighten the shot a little bit where Justin cut his microphone too. That's why I want to go do it again and take great friends out and say more acquaintances.
Well, too bad. Intro's done. Okay. Listen, we are super pumped to get into the topic that we've got today.
Yes.
So we actually want to share a little bit, want you guys to get to know the Drubas just a touch before we dive in deep. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about you.
So we've been married for 10 years.
Your name is Justin?
Yep, my name's Justin. Yeah, this is Michael. Yep, we've been
do
married
it in whatever order you feel comfortable.
That's cool. We've been married for 10 years. We got three awesome kids. We moved to Knoxville about 7 years ago, right at 7 years ago. Found Faith Promise shortly after we moved here. We volunteered in kids. I've been in students, adult small groups and stuff. So we've been around for a while. Michael's on staff here now. Left her corporate job and came here. Good thing for her, very much. Mm-hmm. So, but it's been great so far.
Good.
Super cool. And would you describe yourselves as introverts or extroverts? A little bit of both. How would you describe yourself?
Ooh, that's hard. I would like to say I'm an introvert, like in kind of like thoughts and stuff, but actions maybe more extrovert. It depends on the situation. Michael's very much an extrovert.
I'm a raging extrovert. Like, I love people. I love being around people.
Saying raging because of the anger, or
I mean, I do have the slightly red hair. No, it's I just love people and being around people and talking to people and hearing their stories. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I got into the job I got, because I love talking to people and hearing what they want to do.
And Michael is in HR, so that's helpful. So she talks to
people. It's a very easy job when you have the leadership of Faith Promise that you have.
Yes, it is. My days are interesting.
Yes. Good.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your faith journey? So how and when did you meet Jesus?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in a Christian home. So actually, my parents started a Christian school so my sister and I could have a Christian education.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know that.
Yep. So really small town, and it was one of those, we had chapel every week. So I was saved pretty early on, but it was a lot of my parents' religion.
Sure.
Not necessarily that personal relationship. Went to college, went super prodigal son. Well, prodigal daughter, and just really got away from it. Didn't want anything to do with religion. Then got back into it, really in Austin a little bit. But I had a lot of church hurt. I had a pastor one time. We're both scientists by degree. We were talking about evolution. I wasn't even talking Big Bang evolution. I was talking like, hey, things evolve over time to change. So microevolution. And he goes, well, you're going to hell.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
What a leap.
And I was like, okay, like that's interesting.
We don't know that you're not. I'm sure. That wouldn't be why you go.
No, but I do run your payroll. So I just...
Well, that would
You're not getting paid this
reason
week.
number 2 why you're going. No, I'm just joking. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
And just with different teachers and stuff growing up, like it was not It was not fun. And so we had started going, and it was becoming more and more my faith.
So you were married after, really, when you started to follow Jesus.
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And so God had definitely moved, and we had grown together even without understanding he needed to be in our marriage, right? And then really I really don't love giving him the credit, but Micah Stevens.
Oh. God, I thought we were going Justin.
No, Micah Stevens.
That would be reason number 3. You might not be going to heaven. Can we get a counter going?
He was actually preaching one weekend here, and what he said, I was like, that's me. Like, I am.
That's awesome.
That is who I need to be. And so that's when I really shifted my life around for Christ.
Wow.
That's when we started getting plugged in.
So that was 7 years ago. Yeah, wow.
Wow.
That's incredible. Justin, what about you? Like,
Yeah, I didn't grow up going to church at all. 3 times a year maybe or so, perhaps, with some of my extended relatives. We talked about God every once in a while, but not a lot. And then one of my really good friends in college, room with him for a couple of years, super strong man of God now. And I went to a student conference of some sort, right? And so that's where I really kind of understood like what this is really about, right?
Wow.
It was pretty impactful. Yep, his relationship, and so that's kind of where it started for me. But then I'd say once we really got plugged in here, into Faith Promise and just really starting to get involved with serving and other things, like I think that's really where I truly actually understood what this is about, what this relationship really means and should be. And then it's just grown from there.
Yeah, but as far as like your walk with God, because the stories that we're going to get into and stuff we're going to tell is going to feel very out of reach for a lot of people. But just something as you guys reflect on your, like whenever you start your walk with God and your pursuit of God, you wouldn't say that you guys were just like these
super Christians.
You know, like these, like it was all, you know, because I think sometimes I was raised by some of the most holy people that some people know, with, you know, mom and dad and all that kind of stuff, which is absolutely not true, but people think and say that. Whereas church hurt, you know, I was, you know, so some of that kind of stuff, didn't grow up in it. So you guys just wouldn't say that it was like, oh gosh, I was groomed and bred for, like, you know, seeing revival in my neighborhood, but we saw that. But the bred part of the groomed part.
No, it's like, you know, we weren't raised like they, you know, our parents didn't set that up for us.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were laughing at me.
I just thought that was a really great thought. It's like, hey, I think that's how people feel.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to be from the beginning set up for this. And if not, then you're just so far behind. You can maybe follow Jesus pretty good, but you're not going to see impact around you. And I love your stories. Just, you know, you said, hey, like, we just made this decision. It's so interesting because you would think how like we interacted. So we met the Drubas first in our small group.
That's right.
It was awesome. We did group together for a year, and you would think the way that you guys just like jumped in, that you had been plugged in churches for years, and you hadn't. Like, you just made this decision to say, no, we want what God has. Like, we actually want it, and so we're just gonna do it.
And we want it for us. Like, I didn't want it for my parents anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want it for others. It was like, no, I want this because of what Christ did for me, and I can now really want it and understand it myself.
Yeah. And I don't feel like anything that you guys did and what we'll even talk about continue to do, like, it wasn't hyper complex. It wasn't easy. You know, things can be simple but not easy. And so, but sometimes we feel like they're hard and complex, which makes it out of reach. But if you say, okay, this is simple, it's just not easy. I feel like that's what y'all did. You guys just did these simple things, these obedient things over and over again, and maybe didn't know that this was going to happen. Now you look back in the rearview mirror like, oh my gosh,
right.
I can't believe this has happened. You know, at least that's how I whenever y'all were talking earlier, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm I'm jealous, of this move of God that's happened through your
Yeah.
family.
It's so
And
good.
so, yeah, it may not be what we're going to talk about, and even what you've done up to this point. It hasn't been super complex, but it hasn't been easy, but you've done it anyway.
Yep, small steps and everything along the way. That's
Yeah.
right.
So what we really want to hear about is what's happening in your neighborhood. So I'm going to let you guys tell your story, but you, in a world of garage doors where we all drive home and you press a button, your garage door opens, you walk inside, you close the garage door, you don't really talk to the people around you, even though we're all desperate, particularly post-COVID, for community and having people around us. We live a life of isolation. And one of the things I studied this, I don't know if I was listening to this lady who was talking about how sociologically this is the first time in thousands of years that people have lived the way that we live. Really, the last century is super unique because it's always been like group and community living. And now actually as time progresses, we become more and more isolated. But you guys have been able to bring this incredible connection and community into your neighborhood. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys have seen? We'll kind of start at the end and walk backwards. What have you seen in your neighborhood over the last 2 years?
Yeah. So this last year, we had 8 of our neighbors baptized.
So just for a moment, that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which, if you've been listening, you've heard a healthy church in Tennessee sees 5 annually, and so we're talking about one family that has 3 kids, 2 full-time jobs,
And 2 dogs.
and 2 dogs. Well, that's your fault. Has seen that. I mean, it just, again, if you're familiar with Faith Promise, you think 8 baptisms, and maybe that just goes by us, but I always want to make sure we just sit there and stare at every single one and be like, oh my gosh, like I can't. Somebody just went from death to life. So,
So beautiful.
8 times. You said in the last year,
Just in the
Just
last
last year.
which
Yeah.
is okay. Keep going. Just
Yeah.
wild.
So yeah, 8 baptisms. We did have to talk down one of them because he really wanted to have a bath bomb in his pocket when he got baptized, and we had to threaten him a little bit with that. But yeah,
That would have been hilarious.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I would not have fallen on your side of that argument.
yeah,
Because I would have loved, like, Pastor
think you
Chase or
guys
somebody be baptized, and obviously
yeah,
That
his
would have
his
been
rear end is
amazing.
bubbling.
yeah.
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
would
Tell
get
your
along well.
friends.
Yeah, I like
Bath
him.
bombs in your
I like him.
pockets.
Yeah,
So, I'm sorry, we just gave anybody ideas.
You're welcome.
yeah. I can't
welcome.
wait.
It's
If
the
I
new
would,
fad.
I
Direct
would like.
from HR, everyone.
I would like to go back, and we talked about these people aren't perfect. That's they wouldn't let them use a bath bomb. So that's awesome.
This is definitely going to heaven.
That's amazing.
But 2 full families that were baptized. The one, they actually left the Mormon church, and now they're baptized.
That's huge.
And that was years ago. Years ago, they just had a lot of bad experience with people, right? And getting caught up in religion and not a relationship, and they left. They kind of for years far from God. Yeah.
And then getting baptized at Faith Promise. I mean, they're out of
Yeah.
the Mormon church.
Yeah.
But again, like even that one instance, you go back to how you were hurt in church. And so like, in which we say all the time, Romans 8:28, like God works all things out for the good of those who love him, which is not our good, it's his good. And so like, it's never going to be your good that person told you you're going to hell. But it's like we're all parents in here. Whenever our kids experience good, it's our good. So God's good of you saying, yeah, I got hurt too.
Yeah.
It's just like God doesn't waste any of that.
Well,
So
the
it's-
mercy and the patience. Because how long have they been in your neighborhood?
They moved in 2021.
So you guys have loved consistently for a
Yep.
couple of
For
years.
a few years, yeah.
So you have these families in your neighborhood. Again, you guys are living your life just like everyone else. And
Is there anything you guys would add?
Yeah, that you
I
guys
cut
have
y'all
seen.
off. So you said eight
you have
baptisms.
eight baptisms.
It doesn't have to be anything else. I
No,
just
so
didn't
we
wanna-
actually we started a new small group in our neighborhood as well. So this week will be our 3rd week meeting.
Yep.
And we have an unchurched couple. We have a couple who is going to a different church but has a ton of questions. I mean,
And not a lot of community yet.
Sure.
Pretty
no,
new to the neighborhood. too.
Yeah.
and just some struggles. Like she said, hey, I don't like people, and I don't like how people have treated me, and because of that, I don't feel I can be close to God.
Sure.
So they're now coming to our small group along with these 2 other families of like, hey, how do we just know who Jesus is and grow
Yeah.
closer to him? So
Wow.
Yeah, that's so wow. That's incredible. And we just want to take a step back and say, hey, you are not more special than anybody else. You weren't like professionally trained.
Nope.
So how on earth did you create this space? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah. We avoided hitting the garage door button, right? We come in, hit the door, put it down. We try to be outside as much as we can. We try to meet people kind of where they are. We've got the luxury of time usually with our neighbors, right? We're not transit, so we're not going to move very often. I think the relationship is a little different than, a server that you can, hey, how can we pray for
Yeah,
you?
it's great.
And so we just try to make a relationship with those people. We invited them to our yard first. Hey, come have burgers and hot dogs, right? Let's let the kids play. If you got kids, bring them over. Place where they're a little more comfortable, right? I think we've all had the experience where we try to invite somebody to church.
Sure.
They shut you down pretty quick, right? Very, very hard. That's a big step to take, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've been there because I didn't grow up in church, right? So somebody asked me to come to church. I think back to that experience, and it would have been a little hard, right,
Yeah.
to step in the first time. Or, hey, come into my home for a small group and let's talk about God.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing as well, too, when you're brand new neighbors. So we spend a lot of time just getting to know them, getting them to our space, right?
Yeah.
As much as we could. And it took a couple of years, right? But we've made some really good friendships now because of that.
Yeah. Do you where? So you mentioned burgers and hot dogs, but where does your smoked prime rib? Do you
Ooh,
feel
yeah,
like that's a
yeah.
part? That's a part of it.
You got to earn that. You have to be a pretty good
Okay.
friend to earn that.
So, guys,
okay, so there
I
is
just-
there's tiers
Yeah.
of closeness. Hey, if you come to group,
Because I've only
you get
had
some
it.
of the prime
Group
rib.
will do some- yeah.
I've only had leftovers, so I'm not there yet.
Well-
and men, if you're looking for,
We've been there. We ate it one time.
did we eat it?
We've
first
had
time?
it fresh.
Or
yes.
was it some brisket? Maybe I don't
think
recall
it was
now.
Oh, it was
It's
brisket. It
brisket.
was,
Yeah.
and it was
no,
awesome.
but I literally, when we were over there, he told me about it, and I warmed some up out of the refrigerator.
And
That's
we
what
got
happens.
when we had a kid,
That's
we
where
had
I'm
some
at.
leftovers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
that was
wouldn't
awesome.
give
Yeah.
the kids any.
we
So
actually
I just want
did
to tell
that.
you guys, if you're looking for it, it's about 17 minutes in. You send this with a timestamp to your spouse. You need a smoker. It's for the Lord's work. I feel the anointing on
That's
that.
not what
so
we
just
said.
yeah.
I'll give you some tips if you want.
There you go,
I will
exactly.
say we actually recently, a while ago now, but we did smoke some more prime rib, and we were going to bring it to you. You were on your fast. So we decided not to torture you with it. So
Well,
I
there you
appreciate
go.
that.
Yep.
They tried to love you. So you guys, you're seeing these people.
Can I ask Michael?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Ask Michael.
he said, you asked, what have you done to make space?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and Michael mentioned a lot of things that are obviously for moms, dads, men, and women, but it felt a little more, if you're grilling or something
Yeah.
like that, felt a little more geared towards
Yeah.
maybe a man or a dad. Whereas a lot of times, if you're really going to infiltrate some of these relationships and stuff, it's going to start with moms, ladies, things like that. So could you speak to that, Michael?
Yeah.
Some of the things that you've done to build an environment
Where
for these
people felt loved and
relationships?
seen.
yeah, so one of the things is we've really, like Justin said, we're outside a lot. Obviously, me with sunscreen,
Obviously,
right? Yeah.
totally. Sun hats.
But it's one of those where we just want a safe space for people to come. And so I always keep our fridge stocked of Capri Suns and stuff for the kids, right? Of having crafts available if they want to come do something.
You are a holy lady.
There's no glitter. There is no glitter in my house.
That's from the devil.
Yes.
With evolution.
Yeah, but and then we'll just do things like with moms, right? Of have a girls' night, out in the cul-de-sac or out in somebody's backyard, and just spending time getting to know them, knowing their kids, right? Of hey, where their kids go to school, their ages, giving them birthday presents, stuff like just kind of being aware of who people are,
Sure.
and what I would want if I was in their situation.
Yeah.
Right. So we moved. I was 7 months pregnant when we moved. 8 months pregnant.
And a 2-year-old.
With a 2-year-old. We didn't have family here.
Right.
My sister is close, but with
Sure.
some stuff going on in her family, she can't. She's really busy. Right.
Yeah.
And so we moved. He flew out. I think like the next day to fly back to Austin, Texas to pack everything up and drive it up
Get our
here.
moving truck, yeah.
Yeah. So I was alone with our not quite yet 2-year-old,
Yep.
super pregnant on an air mattress, and I got food poisoning.
Oh my gosh.
Knowing nobody, right? Like we
Right.
didn't know where the closest grocery store was. We didn't know any of the communities. I'm originally from Washington State. He's originally from Indiana. So we know nothing about Tennessee. And just knowing, hey, if somebody was in that situation, I would want a neighbor
Sure.
to check on them,
Right.
right? Like I would want somebody of hey,
Yeah.
let me watch
Yeah.
your kid so you can just
Yeah, go throw
Survive.
up.
go
And
throw up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Go take a shower afterwards,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so us, understanding what it's like to have newborns and understanding what it's like to have
So good.
toddlers and preschoolers and, even now learning as our kids get older what it takes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get to know the moms and figure out what they wanted.
Yeah.
So he's, grilling with the guys and we're all kind of watching the kids and we'll have sprinklers on in the yard for the kids when it's hot. And,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I love what
So good.
it's not about. I'm not just trying to have a relationship with you so that I can share the gospel with you and be done.
Right.
I want friends too,
Yeah.
and I want community too. And we weren't designed to do life alone, and so you weren't put in your neighborhood on accident.
Right.
You're in your neighborhood on purpose, and God has put those people around you for you to minister to, but also for you to have friends as
Yeah.
well. And
Absolutely.
so I have friends in my life that they don't know Jesus yet, but they love me, and we have community, and I'm praying for their salvation, but they aren't excommunicated from my life because they don't know Jesus yet. They're a part of community. So I just love that's your heart. I think that's something that's super important when we talk about winning our world. Is so much of my heart is just to love this person right where they are. And I'll let the Lord do the rest.
Yeah.
But I am going to love this person where they are. It's so cool.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't think at any point I ever thought we need to get this person in a seat in church next to us. But it was start like, hey, let's have a good relationship. I want to enjoy where I live, right? I want to enjoy the people I live around, and have a nice community there. And that's something that like it just kind of happened, and you get all. I think we get more out of it than we put into it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
With the community that we have now in our neighborhood, and it's not something we really expected necessarily. We want to be good neighbors, and we've been in that same spot. We've been brand new to the neighborhood, brand new to the state.
Yeah.
Let's show people a little bit of kindness, right? In whatever we can.
Yeah.
Because we've been there. We've been in that hard spot before.
Yeah.
And now it's
And it's not
It's
your
amazing.
natural. It's not your natural
He's an engineer.
Disposition.
Absolutely
disposition.
not.
necessarily,
Yeah, it's not your natural disposition to be like, hey, I'm going to it's inconvenient. I'm going to bring all this stuff outside. I'm going to be present outside. That's not what you want to do at the end of your workday.
Yep.
On your Saturday, you want to sit in the house on the couch and just veg out, and you chose to deny yourself. How do you get to that place? Like, what did God do in your heart? Because you guys, again, like you grow up following Jesus. Like, hey, you're like, I don't even know that I want Jesus to be a part of my life. What did God do in your heart that you would even decide to do that?
That's a hard question. It wasn't instant, I would say. But yeah, over time, I think we just had to starting having a desire of like wanting to know these people, and feeling like I don't know, like we need to do something for these people, right? And then over time, it's just it was just natural, right? I guess I don't know. It just we just made a good connection with one family, and hey, this went really well. And then the next one, it's just the next neighbor moves in, and it was a lot easier. It's like, well, it went pretty well last time, took a while, but let's try it again.
Kind of turned into a gang where we just slowly started, right? Yeah. I would say for me, so when the story of when we first joined group, right? I was not in a good place, right? Like I've struggled with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, postpartum, right? Just I wasn't in a good place. And so when I'm introducing myself.
Yeah. Luckily, you don't have any external tells that let us know you're in a bad place.
Yeah,
you
none
hide
at all.
it really well.
Weeping, sharing my name, right? So like we walk into group for the first time and I'm like, I'm Mychal Druba, right? Like it just, and the thing
he's
is,
just smiling beside just like that. Just
because
smiling.
he's like, that's my wife.
It's awesome.
But I think for me, what really changed is, hey, I'm supposed to love my neighbor as myself, right? And so when I'm pouring into others, when I'm caring for them, I'm not going to cry right now. This is me not crying.
100%.
At least I've gotten past the intro, so we're doing way better. But like when I am pouring into others, I get so much out of it.
Yeah.
Right? And like the overfilling of joy, and the joy is my strength of like, I get to love people, and that fills me up. And so that was really like the burden for me of, I don't want people where I was.
Sure.
I just want to love them and have Jesus in their life. Because yes, I may be slightly tearing up now.
Yeah,
barely.
Yes.
These allergies. But it is nothing compared to where I was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and people, for you to be able to sit there and like, you were able to fall apart. Yeah. And nobody in the room was
judging me
ashamed,
too much,
embarrassed. Like it was just like, okay, this is where we are today, and we can love you where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was an environment thing. So like something that you guys create, and then in that time y'all were in our group, but there were some people which now you've been there for a while. Justin, the other Justin that was in there. Some of those people, like the thought of like crying and stuff like that would usually make them uncomfortable. But just because of the space that was created, it was just like, hey, this is a space where that's okay. So, they're not in charge or in control. So it's just like, okay, as you look, because in those environments, people look at us because we get the privilege to be the leader. It doesn't bother them. Okay, so I guess it doesn't bother me.
I guess it's cool. We're all okay with this? All right, I guess we're all okay.
Yeah.
But I think that's what happens when people come into your home. And again, somebody crying, I think is small in comparison to saying, like, if somebody's in your house and Justin says, oh, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me? And then you have people over there hearing it and being like, I guess that's okay to do. Yeah. But like I think that's something that you guys have done is because what you were describing earlier, Justin and Mike, when you were talking about like, gosh, I don't know anything really specifically we've done. Y'all just brought the kingdom of heaven and the fruits of the Spirit into your home, your relationship, and your family, and you just invite people. I think about whenever Adam and Eve would walk through the Garden of Eden with God. And people walk through the Garden of Eden in your neighborhood that is your house and your relationship, and they realize this is not where I live. Right. Where I live, the ground is hard and the soil is not fertile, and everything's by the fruit of my brow, and there's pain in childbearing, and all like there's pain out there, but there's peace in here. And I think that's a big part of it. And just to confess, I'll be the reprobate among us. I do think about, I need this person to sit beside me. I need this person to give their life to Christ. But there's more fruit doing it, because y'all are doing it more how Jesus did it. Jesus sat down with tax collectors and prostitutes, and people that are far from God and all that. Just whoever would have them without, and not be so judgmental they couldn't hear them. So
Super good.
I just think like doing it the right way is so huge. You guys are just
And
a great
heart
example.
posture is how you do it the right way. First, we start with a genuine desire to love people, and that is not come from yourself. Just you're like, hey, like.
Yeah, that was yeah. I think what started it was we started to try to be obedient in some other spaces that are a little easier, like tithing, maybe showing up to church on a regular basis, getting into a group. I think that's what really kind of started God's work in us. I think in me too, right? Because I don't
That's
think
so
naturally
good.
I was gonna like just start inviting a bunch of random people into my house, right?
I
Yeah.
would, but
Maybe-
you wouldn't,
maybe
right?
her,
Yeah.
So we took smaller steps of obedience, I think, first.
Yes.
And then I think without even realizing it, we've had this other burden, these other opportunities that we wouldn't have sought out, but they just happened, right?
That's so
and,
good.
So
and,
good,
and then
man.
we just take that next little step. So
And so I really just to point something out, you think and Rachel did a great job. Started with the end, some of the things we've seen, and kind of reverse engineering how we got there. But as we've come back, one of the most foundational things that you guys have seen is just life changing yourselves.
Yeah.
So we have life changing me, and that is the building block. And actually, I don't know that it ever gets beyond that. Like I just have this life changing me, and I let other people see it.
yeah,
And so I think when all of us, every single one of us, there's always something in our life that the Lord's asking us to be more like Him in, and the reason is so that there can be more life change in the world. But again, it just starts with that. I want to be more like Him. I want to, whether it's for you, Justin, I want to love people better. Michael's probably always love people more like
Oh, yeah.
Jesus than you or I do. Same thing with Rachel. But it's like where you had to say, okay, I'll do that, and then Michael had to say, I'm going to be in a more healthy mental, emotional place, which is not easy, and a lot of people never make the decision
Right.
because you still have all those feelings.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, those don't define me or control me or you run me. And so I just think when people think I maybe I can never see that, you guys have said in a bunch of different ways, there was just this thing the Lord asked me to do,
And I just did it.
and I just did it. Going back, like it's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. And so, but part of the reason for us just to see is the reason that God asks us to do these things. He wants to be close. So whatever those things are hurting proximity between us and God. So that's His primary thing. He wants to be close to us. But then also after proximity, it gives us power to win our world, to bring the kingdom of heaven. And so it's just the simplicity that, again, it's just, I've been sitting over here just thinking, it's just, this is the sermon of y'all's lives. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
If people just submit to what God's doing. It's just so cool.
Hey, would you share, did anything ever not go great?
Yes.
What's
Like crying in front of a group of strangers.
Yeah.
Strangers. No, do you have a moment you're like, you know what? We gave it our best. We were honoring the Lord, and boy, it was not good.
They drank all your Capri Suns. They drew on your
They
walls.
drink, yeah, they drew on-
Yeah.
No, but
Glitter.
people hear, oh my gosh, well, you guys just decided to follow Jesus,
Nothing's
and
ever
everything
happened
was
bad.
great.
It's all perfect.
And you guys have your own personal struggles that you're already wrestling with. So and people don't know that. We know you personally, but there's still things like, hey, y'all are still growing in your walk with Jesus. You're still learning how to lay yourself down and pick up your cross. That didn't go away. You're not perfectly obeying Jesus every day.
No.
There are probably some moments that were really difficult. Do you have any
Feel comfortable
you feel
sharing?
comfortable?
Yes. Yeah. So I'll start with kind of easy one. So we have group at our house, right? We have kids. Our boys love Legos, love Legos. And so they have so many Lego sets and stuff like that. I can't tell you how many times Lego sets have been broken in our house, right? And it's just destroyed our boys. They've
They're
been
so
so
sweet.
sad.
They're not like Rachel's kids. They're so sweet.
you know this much of it.
But it has been really hard to share with our kids why we do this at
so
times.
good though.
Yeah.
Right? Of hey, we're doing this because God has asked us to love people
Yeah.
and to open our homes to them. And it's not like our home is, we're not in a mansion.
Sure.
Right? We're not having all these resources that we can just throw at stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those of, hey, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so having them understand, right? That's been hard at
That
times.
is huge, though. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's easy,
Yeah.
right? And even in our own family. So we actually had a next door neighbor lose their son to suicide in their home. And they wanted nothing to do with church.
Yeah.
Again, this is me not crying. I'm not crying right now. But they wanted nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So hurt after that. And they've moved out. So we'll still text them. Hey, praying for you guys. Love you guys. Something good that's come out of it is, hey, there's been some seeds planted, right? And we're starting to see stuff move. And for, I think, where their faith is now, like they're processing, but it's hard, right? And so, how do you be there for somebody on the absolute worst day of their life?
Yeah.
And I feel like we haven't been as intentional as we probably could have been afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they move shortly after, it's harder to maintain those connections, and we know those two people are hurting, right?
Yeah.
And that family is hurting, and we just haven't had the time or just the intentionality to follow up as much as we probably should have.
But this is another reason why, and hopefully it'd be great. This is our most listened to podcast ever, because hopefully they move into a neighborhood that's got a different set of Drubas. It'd actually be much more impactful if another couple did it and they're like, okay, maybe it wasn't just them.
Yeah.
The closest, there's somebody who's really special to Rachel and I. We've been praying for a long time. And from my understanding, the closest they've ever been to accepting Jesus, they haven't yet. The closest they've ever been, they were working they were working like I don't know if it was like a customer service thing or something like that.
Well, he worked at a GameStop.
Something, and like 5 people within like a 2-day period invited him to Faith Promise.
Wow.
And they were like, hey man, we just, gosh, and he's never really positive about church wherever we were talking to him. And he was like, man, I just couldn't believe it, like the consistency and all that kind of stuff. So I think we'll never be perfect. I mean, the rich young ruler walked away from Jesus, and Jesus was perfect. But I think that's part of the reason why this is so important. And there's not a neighborhood anywhere, Faith Promise or not, that doesn't have what Jesus called a house of peace in Matthew 10.
Yeah,
Go
so
find
good.
a house of peace. It's what your house is, and so. Yeah, I appreciate your vulnerability and humility, but whenever they move into a different neighborhood, there should be a group of believers ready to take the baton from where you took it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's taken years, right? Like there's some people, even the couple families that were baptized, they wanted nothing to do with church.
yeah,
Right? It was one of those when they first found out what I did and where I worked, they're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was like, no, let's just love you.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get to know you. And so, don't get discouraged
yeah,
when things don't go well.
That's good.
Right? Like we've had some very colorful language that's happened in our backyard.
Justin.
It was,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
During
likes,
certain sporting events, right? Teams aren't doing so well.
but it's just one of those where we didn't want to give up on those people.
Totally.
And so, yeah, we've seen the life change, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't always happen overnight.
Yeah, and that's more learning for your kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like whenever they use that language and stuff like that, it wads my stomach up. There's people were around and they said some stuff around JL, and I was so mad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have she could have went to college and not heard that word or that phrase together. Why would that ever be together? But like it gives an opportunity to have a conversation with JL. And again, I just to challenge the people who are listening, like we're all teaching ourselves, our families, our kids, our people in close proximity to us something. And so like y'all's kids, I think they play some sports and things like that, but there is a consistent, at least actually bi-weekly element, between church and group for you guys, of where there's intersections with the Lord, y'all doing it together, and those moments where their Legos break or that person says that or whatever, and it's like, hey, I just want to remind you that's not a part of that we would consider an unwholesome word. So that's just not one that we use. But
Well,
again,
and teaching people, hey, how to be like, well, let's not be a Pharisee and hold people accountable to things. First of all, they don't know, they don't believe, they're not following
Right.
Jesus.
Yep.
Like, let's have some mercy and compassion. I just think about when Jesus was sitting at the table. The sinners and the tax collectors. First of all, they called Jesus unholy for even sitting there with them. So are we willing for people to accuse us of being unholy because someone sitting at the table spoke an unwholesome word?
Right.
But then, hey, we have the mercy and the compassion, and we walk with the Lord. So being around sin, hey, we're not going to encourage it. And, hey, we can teach our children, hey, this, we can love people right where they are and minister. So I just wonder, hey, what were some of the colorful words that were thrown around at the table with Jesus? As he was...
I thought you were about to ask Justin to
Please
while
give
Michael
us
was
I'll write it
all
for
of
you
the
later.
details.
while she was watching the Seahawks get stumped.
That's right.
But...
So we'll be leaving now.
But just to think, hey, there are some things that haven't been perfect. Toys are getting broken, and people say things, and we're helping to bring unity. So we go and have the conversation first when something feels like it's broken, and it may not even be our fault, but we go and bring peace and restoration into the relationship. There's countless stories but it was consistency. And I think that's the thing that we just have to walk away with. You said, hey, we have time. We're not coming in here to try and force you to be something. We want to love you, and we want you to experience how good God's been to us. We want you to have that too. Yep. And we're willing to wait on the Lord.
Right.
And keep showing up.
Well, I just go back to the city on a hill. We want to be the light, right? And so when that's happening, or when they're disciplining their kids and it's just screaming or something like that, and it's just, hey, we do it differently.
Yeah.
Right. And let's just show them that. And so the biggest thing is we just do life with people.
That's right.
Right. It's not an act. They're coming in, they're seeing the muddy paw prints, or how our house reeks of skunk at times because of our dogs. Right. It's just life.
Yeah.
And so, okay, something, a Gatorade bottle, red Gatorade gets spilled all over the stairs. Okay.
Hypothetically.
White carpet.
It's fine. Right?
fine.
It's a home.
We'll teach them how to clean it. Yeah.
We're going to teach you how to clean it.
Uh-huh.
We'll help you. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think that if you had one piece of advice, I heard you say, Michael, hey, don't be discouraged. Justin, if there was just one thing you wanted to encourage people with, what would you say?
Oh, yeah. Be patient, because it doesn't happen overnight. We've got some neighbors that there are who is next, right? They're super nice people, but they need God in their life, right?
Yeah.
For sure, in certain areas, and they've lived next to us for a while, right, in our neighborhood. So we haven't seen any fruits of that labor, right? We know there's more for them, in this life. And next, right? So it's just we have to be patient. And I think the other thing is we have found a lot of value in trying to serve people in our neighborhood, right? The neighbors, who are next, every fall, we're out there helping them rake their leaves, and they have a lot of trees, a lot of leaves.
And the kids come help you do that too,
and the kids do,
they?
yeah, kids come. Now, usually ends up being a pile that they jump in and such, but it's just little bit of things here or there. We look for ways, just try to find ways to show them that we care about them, right?
Right.
And if we could rake leaves for 30 minutes on a Saturday, and that's I think that's what's helped too, is show people that we're not just trying to get you into church, but we care about them, whatever little bit that we can. We see they've got a need, so we try to help them with that need however we can.
Do you guys rake your yard? Y'all rake y'all's leaves?
Yeah. I've got a mulching blade on my mower, so I usually try to mulch them up if I can.
I would rather
we don't
cut
have
all
that
the trees
much.
down.
Yeah. Our neighbors have a lot more than we do, so we're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, and no chance. I'm
Your
cleaning up.
dad was
there's-
mulching them up yesterday.
I got a Roomba for the house, brother.
Ooh, they need
So
a
I don't
Roomba for the yard.
exactly.
Right?
Well, our neighbors have one that mows it, but
It is the coolest thing.
if I have outsourced vacuuming our floors inside.
Yeah.
I'm not cleaning the floors outside. That's the craziest thing ever. I see people doing. I'm like, the Lord made it.
Your grass gets killed. if
Who
you stay on it.
cares?
We
It's
care.
outside.
We care. We want grass in
Baby,
our yard.
we don't. We're not defined by what people think about us.
Well,
Turf, just get some turf in the front yard.
Actually, Tanya
Leaf blow it
did.
off.
Yeah, she used to hammer me because she's like, "You're being a bad neighbor because your yard's not mowed," and so she pulled the Lord card on me.
yeah, it's being a bad neighbor.
Yeah,
Serve your
yeah.
neighbors by
He's
mowing your
mowed
yard.
people's yards. Let me just put that one
I,
out there.
Let's
now,
just move by the Drubas.
I
end of
enjoy that
this.
kind of thing, right? Like, because I sit at a computer all day. I mean, that's my
Yeah.
job, right? So I enjoy on the weekends getting out and doing some physical activity. So, so that's something that's easy for me to do. I see some leaves, neighbors are out there, I'll go help. That's probably not for everybody, right?
I hate it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you see somebody
Right.
working on your car, don't call me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy to hold a wrench. I don't know much about cars,
Yeah.
right? I know how to use a wrench, right? But I'm sure there's people out there that love cars.
I'm just going to tell you to put the prime rib on.
Prime rib. There you
Yeah.
go. Yep. If
I'll
somebody
call
wants
somebody
help,
else to fix the
smoke
car.
a prime rib.
You
I'll
put
help.
the prime
Yeah.
rib.
But yeah, do what gifts you have,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's
so
great. That's a great
he's
point.
great at
Interesting.
yard work and stuff like that. I'm great at sitting down with people and just caring about them.
Yeah.
Right.
Listening.
And hey, tell me about your life.
Yeah.
What are you struggling with?
Yeah.
How can I support you? Right. And so that's
And
what
that
I
didn't
do.
happen in the first conversation.
No.
It was multiple conversations
Had to earn
over
that.
time. You have
That's
to earn
good.
that. That's good. Well, I hope that you're encouraged, that you're listening, and hey, you probably have a lot of thoughts going on in your head, like, okay, well, I don't know that I can do all of that right now today, and that's not. I want us to go back to what Justin said: is hey, I started taking steps of obedience. What step of obedience has God asked you to do that you haven't done? And so you say, hey, I want to win I feel this pressure to win my world and to win all these people to Jesus. And I think some of that pressure is because we feel that way because we've been disobedient in some other areas of our life. So as you process now, like, hey, what is next in my walk with God? Hey, I know that there are people around me that need to know Jesus, and I don't have the intimacy with the Lord, just like Zach was talking about, to even care about them. Well, what is it that's blocking intimacy between me and the Lord right now? Because if I don't love God first, I certainly can't love people. So how can I be loving the Lord right now, and how can I be pursuing Him right now? Is it something like, hey, I'm not even reading my Bible. I'm not even taking time to pray. I'm not showing up to church. I'm not, there are some things that the Drubas, they said, hey, we started doing these things, and it changed our heart first. So let's ask the Lord, hey, what is our, and maybe your heart's in a great place with the Lord. Now you have some really practical things. They're going to cost you your time. Yeah. They're gonna cost you some of your leisure, maybe activity. But I love that the Druids said, "Hey, we've just lived our life, but we brought our life outside so people could be a part." Mm-hmm. So, what are some people? Who is next in your life? Have you ever even met your neighbors? If you've never met your neighbors, it's time to bake some cookies and go next door. If you've never met your neighbors, it's time to just go outside and play with your kids outside and just start waving at them as they drive home. If we don't have to make it complicated, there's not some big scheme at work. Our goal is just to love people so much that we actually get out of our home and meet them where they are. Mm-hmm. So we hope you're encouraged today, that you've taken away an action step to walk with your purpose. Thank you so much, Mychal and Justin, for sharing your story. And we're going to be praying for you as you walk out winning your world.